What's up, YouTube? Thinking about marrying a Chinese person or going to a traditional Chinese wedding and want to know about the customs? If so, this is the video for you. So before I go into the details of a Chinese wedding, just wanted to talk a little bit about myself. I was fortunate enough to meet my Chinese wife in the USA, and we actually ended up having two weddings. One was a wedding in the United States to appease my American family, and the other one was in China that was 100% Chinese traditional style. Also, my wife owns a wedding design company in Guangzhou, China, so she does Chinese weddings all the time. I'll put her links in the description down below if you want to go ahead and check that out later on. Anyways, let's get started. So not every traditional Chinese wedding is going to be the same. Each of them have their own customization, some of them have a Western touch. So in this video, I'm just going to go over the generalities, and I'm going to go kind of in chronological order from start to finish. Some of these weddings can actually end up being 2 to 3 days, but in this scenario, I'm just gonna go with a one-day wedding. So the first activity that typically happens is that the groom visits the bride, either at their house or at their hotel room, and with all the bridesmaid and the groomsmen, they play games together. These games are supposed to be like a test for seeing if you know your wife well enough to go ahead and marry her. Think of it as like initiation when you go to a frat house or when you want to pledge to a frat house, similar to that. So some of the games that they play, just to give you some examples, and you can see some of the footage here, is like a bunch of the bridesmaids plus the bride will all kiss a napkin with freshly put on lipstick. And it is up to the groom to figure out which napkins is his wife's. Now, if you get the answer wrong, the groom usually has to do some kind of a penalty, whether it's drink liquor, drink alcohol, or maybe like do a silly dance or something like that. There's usually a penalty associated. And they play games usually within 1 hour or so. And when the bridesmaids are satisfied and they say, okay, this groom is ready and serious to actually marry this bride, go ahead and continue on with the ceremony. The next step that sometimes occurs is the official wedding ceremony. It is usually done privately between the bride and the groom, where they read their vows to each other and kind of say, hey, we are committed to be with each other for the rest of our lives. And after this ceremony, sometimes they even greet their ancestors through an altar and pay their respects. And then you move on to the next part. So this next part is actually pretty important and done commonly throughout China. It's called the tea ceremony. I did this with my Chinese wife and the in-laws, and it was actually a pretty interesting experience. So what it typically symbolizes is the family, like the in-laws and the parents, accepting the bride and the groom into their respective families. So how we did it is there was 2 pillows on the floor that both me and my wife had to kneel on, and there was usually a special kind of tea. It varies based on different regions in China, but you serve a special kind of tea. And what you do is that you interlock arms with your wife, and then you invite your respective in-law or your parent to drink tea with them. The order can vary based on age or the relationship status. The idea is both the wife and the groom ask their respective in-law or parents to drink tea, and if they drink the tea, they are officially, formally accepting that you are part of their family. After both in-laws or parents have drank the tea, then typically you're given a hongbao with, which is pretty much a red packet full of a lot of money, or some jewelry, usually some kind of a gift saying, here you go, welcome to our family. Now you gotta put up with us for like ever. But when I did this ceremony, I thought it was very interesting and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. The next thing to expect is a huge banquet. So okay, like I said earlier, we had 2 weddings. One was in the US and one was in China. The people I invited to the US was like maybe 50 to 60 people. But the people that were invited in China, it was like 100 plus people. It was like everybody and their mama attended. And that's not even considered a big wedding here. Some of my wife's clients have invited maybe 400 to 600 people to attend this banquet, so it's really a big deal. So think of this banquet as not so much for the bride and groom, but for your friends and family to enjoy your presence and understand that you are starting a new life as a newlywed couple. So one thing I want to note about these is that there's usually red everywhere. So as you can see right now, I'm wearing the Chinese outfit I was wearing in my Chinese wedding. And you can expect the bride and the groom to wear multiple outfits. There's usually also an MC, which is a mic control person, who kind of runs the agenda and the show from start to finish in these banquets. And the agenda can vary based on couple to couple. So in these banquet rooms, typically in like a hotel or like a tea house, you see a lot of round tables where all the families are together chatting and enjoying their times together. And there's usually kind of fine dining or like very high-end food to kind of celebrate the future life that the bride and the groom are gonna have. You can expect a couple things: tons of alcohol and tons of food. So because you're gonna be so involved taking pictures throughout the whole ceremony, don't expect the bride and groom to eat that much. I actually probably got maybe 2 bites the whole wedding for my wedding. And my wife, I don't know how much, I don't think she ate either. But like I said earlier, it's really for the family and the friends to really enjoy spending time with you. So don't expect to eat that much if you are the bride or the groom. There's typically different rooms for different scenarios for taking pictures. So we were just standing up on our feet the whole time, taking pictures, changing outfits. We did a little first dance ceremony, all that. Something I want to note that at the end, get ready to do some bottoms up, because it is tradition for the bride and groom to go to every table. So let's say you have 400 people and there's 10 people per table, so that's 40 tables, where you have to go and greet everybody and you say cheers in Chinese, which is like ganbei, and that means bottoms up. So every time you go to a table, you as a groom have to go ahead and say, thank you for coming to our wedding, I hope you're enjoying our time, and bottoms up. You can tell that a lot of people get drunk during this time, and it's really just to have a good time. The groomsmen also follow the groom to see if they need help getting them to the hotel room if they're passed out. Or if you're sneaky enough, you may not have some wine with you, you may have some grape juice, which is done to avoid getting plastered during the event. Another thing I like about Chinese weddings is that you kind of feel like a celebrity, like for maybe a day. So depending on the photography and the videography group you pick, you can feel like you're in a movie. And you can see some clips right here of these people, you know, renting really fancy cars and really going above and beyond for the videography and photography. And it's really supposed to be a moment that you'll never forget. So that kind of wraps it up for how Chinese weddings are done in China in a general format. If you found value from this video, please smash that like button. Also, if you want to know more about the lifestyle in China, consider subscribing to this channel for our post every week. If you want to have a consultation with my wife for having a Chinese wedding either in China or outside China, you can look in the description below or even leave a comment and we'll be sure to help you out. Anyways, I'll see you next time.